Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Horns Report on KXAN Plus, where we talk about all things UT athletics. And just because football games are over with for the Longhorns doesn't mean the news stops. The transfer portal is heating up. In fact, it's a 5-alarm fire at this point. And the Longhorns grabbed two huge transfers that's going to help them out next season. And the women's basketball team dropped their first game of the season to LSU on Sunday, and there's some other stuff that's happening too. And here to talk about all of it is KXAN Sports Director Roger Wallace. Roger, thanks as always for your time coming down the stairs from the sports office down
I
here.
would say more people are interested in the portal than the Citrus Bowl.
That's true.
If you're hardcore football
Yes.
fans, they're way more concerned about that roster than what happened in that bowl game with a team that was not the same team that was on the field most of the season.
Right, yeah. And like I said, the portal is just raging right now. It's been open since the 2nd of January. It stays open until the 16th. And that's just so players can put their names in, so coaches can contact them. There's going to be news of transfers, far after January 16th. So this is going to keep going, Roger. But the Longhorns grabbed two of the most coveted players out of the portal to help them out. At wide receiver and at running back, Cam Clayton out of Auburn and Hollywood Smothers out of North Carolina State. That's going to be fun to say for a couple of years. Roger, just kind of give us the lay of the land of why are these two players so coveted and why are they so good?
Well, Coleman was the biggest catch out there in many eyes. If you don't need a quarterback, the Auburn wide receiver, and he came to Texas. His first visit was to Texas. So a lot of people, the pessimists, think if you can't get him locked up before he leaves campus, how can you possibly get him if he's going to Lubbock, if he's going to College Station, if he's going to Tuscaloosa? But Texas did it on Sunday. Coleman, big, physical. You watch his highlights on YouTube. They're easy to find because you'll see a lot of that. He wins battles for the football. He's going to make Arch Manning even a better quarterback because the one thing receivers can do is those 50-50 balls. We really didn't see a lot of that this season with Longhorn wide receivers. Probably the guy that did it the most was the guy that was limited, and that was Emmett Mosley. But that 50-50 ball that they can go get, man, that makes your life a lot easier as a quarterback. And there's a lot of stories going around that Ryan Wingo helped recruit Cam Coleman from Auburn. He's an Alabama native. He visited Alabama last, and Steve Sarkisian, Brandon Harris, the GM, won that battle. Obviously huge because I think two things. One, he's going to help, and two, somebody else didn't get him. And that should ease the minds of Longhorn fans about how Sark and company are in the portal, because it was widespread panic about Wednesday last week when things weren't just going as fast as everybody wanted them, because it's a game now where every hour you're refreshing, thinking that your team's going to get somebody because you're seeing 20 other teams get somebody, but there are thousands of players in there.
Yeah, no, this is like professional free agency. Like it's exactly
times
what
50.
It is. Times it's just there's just no rules around. There's no guardrails around this other than the portal being the 15 days of what it is now, and just one portal period. There's not two anymore. But the thing with Coleman, Roger, and you mentioned it, Ryan Wingo helped recruit him, and you'd think in this day and age of, man, I got to be the number one guy all the time so I can go out and get my NIL money, so I can go get my money, that you wouldn't think Wingo would want another alpha in there with him, but kind of seemed like Ryan Wingo's bought into what the culture is, what Steve Sarkisian is trying to create, and if he sees that Cam Coleman can help him out, I mean, he's all in.
Well, you figure Arch Manning's going to put the ball in the air. If he's only throwing it 20 times, that means they're doing something really well on offense. But more realistically, 25 to 35, there's plenty to go around.
Sure.
And more attention on another guy helps you get single coverage. And so I think it all goes hand in hand for success. And that kind of leads us to the running back situation, Billy, because not only did they get Raleek Brown last week, the Arizona State transfer, who started at USC, very electric. But then they get another one on Sunday, Dalen Hollywood Smothers from NC State, and started his career at Oklahoma, actually. Yeah. And he was a flip of a portal commitment, but another very electric back who ran for nearly 1,000 yards. He's successful catching the ball out of the backfield. So it's going to be a much different looking running game, I would think, from this season when they didn't get a lot of explosive plays out of the running game. I think we're going to see some home runs hit by these backs next year.
Right. I think Jabbar Jalouk, the new running backs coach, is licking his chops right now with this backfield coming in. And with incoming freshman Derek Cooper, you've got three guys that, obviously being a true freshman, Derek might not see a ton of time, but hey, who knows at this point? James Simon is still around.
For now.
Anyway, I was going to say, unfortunately for Longhorn fans, after seeing him in the Citrus Bowl, Christian Clark has decided to transfer after seeing all this running back news here with Raleek Brown, who is a 1,000-yard rusher from Arizona State, who they got last week, like what Roger was saying, and then Hollywood Smothers. So it's one of those things where,
don't get too attached to players.
Right, exactly.
Is the moral of the story.
Yeah. Don't buy their jerseys because they might be gone before you know it. But it's a sign of the times, right? Where Christian Clark looked like he was going to be the heir apparent, the number one guy after C.J. Baxter and Quintravion Wisner transfer out of the program. Clark gets his chance against Michigan, has a great game, 105 yards on 20 carries and a touchdown. Really tough between the tackles kind of guy, something that the Longhorns offense was missing essentially all season. And so fans are like, all right, cool. Like we've got this guy now. And then all of a sudden they add two really, really good transfers. And Christian Clark's like, well, there goes my opportunity. Time to go somewhere else.
And he made money in that game.
Hey, I'm sure he
because,
did.
because what he put on tape against Michigan was way different than what he put on tape during the regular season.
Yeah.
So it just is the way they do business now in college football. I'm sure that they assign a value. They have very honest conversations because why wouldn't you? And then when things happen, and Clark probably in his head was thinking, okay, they got Brown. We know Cooper's coming in. So if they get another one, I probably have to go. And they've all got agents. Now, what level of agent they are, Coach Sark wonders about that. But still, I don't think anything catches anyone off guard anymore because it's so fluid for these couple of weeks. So, and I think we were joking yesterday. Why wouldn't everyone just go in the portal? All you're doing is just kind of shopping. So I think that's what it's going to be, and that's why thousands are in the portal. Now you risk your current team kind of saying, "Okay, see ya." You get no benefits of being a football player. You don't have access to the facilities, nutrition, things like that. But the portal season is when school's not even in for the most part. So, everybody's trying to figure it out, but that's one of the realities. One in, one out in a lot of cases for these, especially the skill positions where you're probably not going to go deep unless you get into injuries more than three backs, four backs. And so Christian Clark's going to go find another home. I think Trey Owens is an interesting story, Billy, because I think that's kind of the blueprint for quarterbacks. The highly touted out of Houston, right? Comes here, sits. Now he's going to go to Arkansas State and most likely start, because why would you go somewhere and not start?
Exactly.
And then
why would you go to a group of 5 conference and not start? Exactly.
Then you're a free agent, and then that 7-figure deal is out there. So I know the mid-majors hate the model in some respects because all they do is get their players poached. But in other respects, they can get some Power 5 players to come in for a year and do their thing and get their best deal. And so, not surprised that we'll see where some other guys from the portal end up for Texas. DeAndre Moore, as of Monday afternoon, didn't have a home, so we'll see where he ends up, and some other highly regarded guys that went in. And then there's a lot of talk that some of these guys might come back out and stay with Texas.
Yeah, so they can always withdraw their names. Derek Williams did that.
If the coach wants him back. I think Sark has softened his stance on if they go in, goodbye, because no matter what you say, the job of the coach is to do what's best for the team and the program. And if it means you have to walk that back, you walk it back.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things where sometimes it's all about re-recruiting your former players, and this is.
And everyone's learning on the fly.
Right? Yeah. I believe it was. I think it was Sark who said it, or it could have been Kyle Flood, could have been somebody. in the Citrus Bowl run up press conferences, like 5 years ago, this wasn't going on. You can't call a coach who was coaching 5 years ago and ask them advice, right? Like this is all just sort of fly by the seat of your pants and figure it out as you go.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a little number I just saw,
yeah.
Billy, because everyone's wondering, okay, where's the money coming from? We know legally you have revenue sharing,
Right.
and then you can make that third-party NIL deal, and then those NIL deals are supposed to get approved by the College Sports Commission.
Correct,
And
yes.
this just came out, so here's a number for you.
Yeah.
17,321 deals for over $127 million were approved, and 524 deals for over $14 million were not approved by the College Sports Commission. The approved is not surprising, right?
Right.
It's what happened with those deals that weren't approved. What programs are affected? What sports
Yeah.
are effective? Are there any big name guys out there? We haven't heard, but supposedly
Right.
these NIL deals are supposed to be you provide a service or your name, image, and likeness provides reason for fans to buy a product or something.
Yep.
Arch with Red Bull is cut and dry. Arch with Warby Parker is cut and dry. Some of the other ones they're a little bit more vague and gray. So that's what this commission is supposed to do. So supposedly those are the guardrails, but we haven't seen any big name
Right.
player get his deal pulled out because
Right.
it's not a deal that they feel is true NIL, name,
Right.
image, and likeness.
And I'd just like to point out that I was on Warby Parker before Arch Manning was. These are the Boggs frame, in case you're wondering.
You are not receiving any
And
compensation.
I'm not getting any money
for
from
that-
them
for that endorsement.
Unfortunately, they just haven't seen the Horns report yet, Roger.
That's
Maybe we need to
That's true.
send them a link to this fine program. Talking about the transfer classes just all over the country. Texas was the top class for a little bit until LSU landed quarterback Sam Leavitt from Arizona State. Now, if we go to the rankings provided by 24/7 Sports, I'll zoom in on that so you can see it a little bit better. LSU is at the top with 23 commitments in the 24/7 Sports ranking. Texas still there at 2, and they only have 13 commitments. Like, you look at all of these schools, Oklahoma State's a bit of an outlier because they had a coaching change. So they have 44 commitments. Most of those guys are from North Texas. But you look at LSU, 23 coaching change there. Penn State, 32 coaching change there. Ole Miss, only 14 coaching change there too. So go on down the list, and there's Rogers Hoosiers there at 10. This has been quite the run for Indiana getting those transfers. Everybody sees how good they are with Kirk Signetti.
And Mark Cuban.
And Mark Cuban, yeah, can't forget that.
Well, Kentucky, how about they get 2 Longhorns?
Yeah.
Will Stein, the new head coach from Oregon, way back when he was a assistant coach at Lake Travis. He also spent some time as a GA at UT, but he gets C.J. Baxter and Bo Barnes at Kentucky. So yeah, they're rebuilding their roster there. It's interesting to see how he's coming back to some of his roots in Texas to load up, but. That's just the way it is, and for a program like Texas, because as you said, a lot of the common denominator is a new coach. Texas is not, A&M is not, Texas Tech is not, so they're filling holes. A&M, the numbers are greater than Texas or Texas Tech, but again, if you're going to one of these schools that have an established program and a consistency with the coaching staff, you better produce right away. Because that's the only reason they're going in the port. Now, Zion Williams, I will say, the defensive tackle from LSU who did not play on defense. He played on special teams.
Yeah.
He's more of a project. That's basically just getting a high school kid who has 1 year of seasoning. In Texas, I believe they were the runner-up to LSU in the recruiting of Williams out of Lufkin in southeast Texas. So he goes through a coaching change. He had a relationship with the Texas staff, so that's more of a project. But the guys we've been talking about, those better be plug-and-play guys on either side of the ball.
Yeah, they are proven commodities for sure. We are keeping track of all of the transfers in and out and otherwise on KXAN.com. Here's the list that I've been updating feverishly multiple times a day to make sure the most up-to-date info is up there. And honestly, I'm sure
it's fluid.
I'm sure that the screen I'm showing you now, I'm sure it's inaccurate in some regard. But there's a bunch of folks headed out of Texas. 23 at the last count. That's counting Derek Williams, who withdrew his transfer request, so he's coming back. So that's why I have him the little strike through there. But a lot of folks just headed to other Power 4 conference schools, with the exception of Trey Owens. They're headed to Arkansas State. And then there's a handful of kids coming in, 13, like we were saying. Another big pickup for the Longhorns, Roger, Rasheem Biles, a linebacker out of Pitt, who is exactly like what we've been describing, a big plug-and-play guy. He was an all-ACC second-team pick last season, had 2 interception returns for touchdowns. You don't see that very much out of a linebacker, and given the massive attrition that Texas has had at linebacker, Roger, this is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and they got 2, and they might need a third linebacker.
Justin Cryer from Florida State being the other.
That's right. Justin Cryer's coming here as well. So, yeah, I mean, they've got to build that linebacker room in a hurry. And then Bo Barnes, I think maybe that caught them off guard as well, as he played in the Citrus Bowl, highly regarded linebacker as a freshman. But with what they lost with Anthony Hill, with Leonga Lafau, and now Barnes, they got to build that up in a hurry. And Anthony Smith had the great Citrus Bowl as well. So you're starting to see what that room is going to look like, at least on the surface. Now, depth isn't going to be what it's used to be, Billy.
Exactly.
And you're talking about maybe an NFL model where they can go to 105 scholarships. They may not get to 85 because they've got you're building it like an NFL roster, and maybe you have 50, 60 guys, and then you fill it out for practice and some more depth. But I don't think they're going to come anywhere close to over 100 scholarship players. So,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's
a lot of
the
players.
model of just stockpiling and we'll take them so you can't have them.
Right.
That's long gone.
Yeah.
But 2 big linebacker pickups. So they got a corner out of Rutgers, and little things like they took care of basically their whole special teams battery.
Yeah.
Right when the portal opened with a deep snapper, a punter, and a kicker. They get a tight end out of Michigan State. I think they think that don't look at the numbers.
No, he's more of an inline kind of blocking kind of guy. Like maybe he's going to help the run game a little bit more than a usual Texas tight end.
Right, and they lose a Jordan Washington, but they get Nick Townsend, Spencer Shannon still here as well. So it's just a difficult way to follow your team than you're used to, and so I'm sure Sark's not done because like you said, the portal closes for players to go into it. It doesn't close for teams to acquire.
Yeah.
And so therefore you're going to get, I think, an opportunity still to land some offensive linemen. They get 1 out of Oregon State, but I would think they need at least 2 more there.
Yeah.
And Connor Robertson's coming back.
Yep. Connor Robertson's coming back. Trevor Goosby's going to be back. So
Brandon Baker
there.
So there's 3.
Yep.
But
Nate Kibble's headed to Baylor, I believe, is where he's going.
If Kojo's healthy,
and
remember
Kojo should be coming back.
He was going to battle for a starting spot and went down in training camp.
Yeah. And actually, I'm looking at my list here, and I do see I don't have Daniel Cruz, a backup offensive lineman, going to North Carolina State. So when we're done recording this, I'm gonna go update my list here. All right, so football, man. I mean, it's the national championship is about 6 days away.
Normally, we'd be talking about those early enrollees.
Normally, we would be,
that reported yesterday. They're on campus today, and they're getting ready to go to class and obviously start their off-season workouts here pretty soon. But it's just a different model now, and that recruiting class, I think they're going to start shrinking even a little bit more.
Yeah, it's sign of the times. Sign of the times. The house settlement, revenue sharing, NIL. Man, it is. College football's changing so quickly right before our eyes. It's pretty wild. All righty, so let's kind of shift to women's basketball. The number 4 now Longhorns, they suffered their first loss on Sunday on the road to LSU, 70-65. Very, very good game. A lot of big defensive battles, especially in that first half. Second half, the offense kind of picked up. Madison Booker scores 20 of her 24, I believe, in the second half.
Yeah, she sat a lot with fouls.
She did. She did have to sit a lot with fouls. I think she played the entire fourth quarter with 4.
Yeah, she got her second with just over a minute into the second. sat the rest of the second quarter, and then there was a point in that game where she looked like what we don't see very often, but sometimes that's okay. Jump on my back.
Right.
I'm gonna try to carry this team, and she was really good, but too many things went wrong against a good LSU team for Texas, and they had it to a one possession game down the stretch, but lose by 5. Roy Harmon on the bench the last part of the ball game, ineffective.
Tough night for her.
Yeah, and you mentioned the offense. They score 65 and 26 came in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So it was just I wasn't shocked that they lost to LSU, and I don't think any red flag should be raised if you're a Longhorn fan about this game, or even Thursday when they go to South Carolina, and they're going to try to beat South Carolina twice in one season. Now we know what South Carolina did to Texas last year, 3-1, including the Final Four, but still going to Columbia, it's going to be tough. It'll be a fun game to see how Texas can bounce back, and what South Carolina looks like after losing to Texas back on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Kyla Oldacre, 16 points, 16 rebounds against the Tigers. So obviously Kyla had a good game there in the paint. However, you can't get out-rebounded 44-35 at an SEC game and expect to win. I mean, that's the long and the short of it, Roger. Like you can't get pushed around in the paint, and that's what happened. That's what Kim Mulkey's squad did to Vic's squad, and he certainly lamented that in the post-game comments, which we'll get to some pretty spicy comments from Vic here in a second. But you can't let 5 players score double figures either. Like you gotta do something. You gotta limit somebody. Michaela Williams goes for 20. 4 others go for 10. You gotta try to, especially with a team like Schaefer's who prides itself on playing defense. Like this stuff is just not gonna work.
Well, and they've been the top team in the country in turnover margin, and they were -1 in that. So that's so much of their game is turning other teams over. And then he used the term that, boy, you raise it does raise a red flag on offense. Selfish. He didn't think his team shared the ball enough. He thought Kyla Oldacre should have had more touches. She had 9 field goal attempts. Obviously, LSU is going to collapse. They're going to put a lot of hands on her when she gets the ball, but that was a concern. And again, when you lose Madison Booker for nearly 10 minutes, your offense is going to struggle. They only scored 9 points in the first quarter, though, but it was 9-9. And then they're down 28-25 with the ball at the end of the first half. They turn it over. LSU hits a bucket at the buzzer, and all of a sudden it's 5. I know that's not a big deal, but they go in celebrating, and Texas not used to being down in ball games this season.
Right, and like that was the type of game where a 5-point lead played like a 10-point lead just because of the way it was going.
And they fought back. They were down double figures, and they clawed their way back in it. But couldn't get over the hump. I mean, Williams hit that crazy 3 with the shot clock winding down. That was kind of the dagger in the ball game.
Yeah, Texas was down 13 in the second half, or it might have been in the fourth quarter even. And then Madison Booker goes 10 straight for the Longhorns, cuts it down to 3, and then LSU just playing at home, having the crowd behind them, they're able to hang on and pull that one out. So that drops Texas from number 2 to number 4 in this week's Associated Press top 25. I believe it moved LSU up 6 spots to number 6. They were 12, and now they're going up to 6. South Carolina, their next opponent, goes up to number 2. Again, that's on the road coming up on Thursday. And had a little frog in my throat there. Vic Schaefer had a lot to say about this scheduling, Roger, and having these 2 Final Four programs so close together on the road, back to back. Here's what Vic had to say about the SEC office and their scheduling.
They obviously have a vendetta against Texas because not only have we started in the league and I get to play South Carolina twice last year.
That's right.
This year I get LSU twice, but I have to go of 16 games. There's 16 games this year. And I have to play South Carolina on the road this year as well as LSU. I get them back-to-back in the same week. Now make that make sense. So the league is hard enough as it is. But then to bless me in my group with that, like it really has a stench to it. And the common denominator is LSU and South Carolina both played Georgia before they played me. and South Carolina was at home today. So, you know, I'm disappointed. You know, I said that yesterday. I said it to TV. I'm really disappointed in the league for putting our kids in that position. But we play whoever's in front of us. And the answer to your question is, you're right, it's a bear. I mean, it's just one monster after another. It's what AAA baseball is to the major leagues. That's how I look at it. And, you know, you got Hall of Fame coaches. You've got future WNBA players. And so it's hard. But that's what we all sign up for. You know, that's what I signed up for. I obviously came from Mississippi State, so I was pretty used to the league and understood what it was. And then when you go to Texas, you not only are signing up for the SEC, but you got Texas on your chest, and everybody wants a piece of you. So there's some things right now that bother me in regards to, like I said, the schedule, but they don't call me and ask me about it. I just get it. And unless somebody from my university stands up and says, hey, what in the hell's going on here, nobody does anything. And that's my frustration, is that I waited. I've seen it. It's been on my radar since spring meetings. When the schedule came out, I saw it, and I waited for people that I thought should have stood up and said something. Nothing was said. I mean, we got people in the conference office that are just in charge of women's basketball. You want to tell me that anybody else in our league gets both these teams back-to-back on the road? Because they were both preseason number 1, number 2, number 3. Both of them. They're preseason number 3. 1, 2, or 3. So but nobody did. I saw it, but I was hoping that somebody would, but it didn't get done. So this is what we got. It's fine.
That's my thought.
Hit the button too soon. So that was Coach Vic Schaefer going on a bit of a tirade. It wasn't quite a tirade. I think a tirade, you got to be yelling a little bit more. But going on just a bit of a talk, so to speak, a soapbox, I guess would be a good way to describe it.
Yep.
About how these two programs ended up so close together on the schedule, on the road. I mean, he has a point, I guess, if it sounds like sour grapes when it comes after a loss, right?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if we hear from him this week before the South Carolina game. My guess is we will. I don't know if he'll address it. I know he doesn't feel any differently, but you're right. In that forum, after a tough loss, your first loss, you're number 2 in the country. You got a lot of things going for you. To hear that. Now, he said it before, but it does. I mean, it makes you wonder, wow, that's quite a coincidence, right? If in fact it was just a random act of scheduling, which it wasn't, because they think about TV and stuff. But this is too good a league, and you're gonna have a hard time avoiding tough back-to-backs, especially when you have programs like Vanderbilt now in the top 10, Kentucky right back kind of where they were last year, top 5. So it's a tough part of the schedule, but I think Texas will be just fine. And I think if they lose Thursday, they'll be just fine.
Yeah, and I wrote a story about this very subject that's on KXAN.com right now. And, you know, it takes Vic's comments and I try to put them in context a little bit. I mean, there are a couple stretches in Texas' schedule where it gets pretty brutal. Obviously, this one with LSU, South Carolina back-to-back, both teams on a collision course for the Final Four, let's be honest. I mean, both those teams are very, very good. Could end up there at the end. Vanderbilt, number 5 in the country. No one really thought they were going to be this good. They knew they were going to be good, but like they're tremendous. They have a similar situation. Like they have to play South Carolina on the 25th on the road, and then they got to double back, go to Oxford and take on Ole Miss, who's 16th in the nation. So there's that sort of, you know, kind of similar situation. You're playing 2 ranked teams back to back within a week of each other. Mississippi State, where Coach Schaefer was previously, they have that situation with Alabama and Tennessee. And then I believe the Gamecocks have another kind of situation like that with LSU and Alabama. So it's not they're not just all alone in this kind of scheduling quirk when it comes to, you know, getting all these teams together, because like every team in the SEC is good. And then the backhanded swipe against Georgia, that was kind of weird. But
I think there were a couple things at play. One, they played the home and home last year against South Carolina.
Yeah.
Then they lose in the SEC championship. Then they lose in the Final Four. Then they look up and, oh, by the way, we're not playing twice. but they've got to go to Columbia this year.
Yeah.
So already he's going, oh my, I can't. And then the home and home instead of South Carolina, they get LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Now that makes a lot of sense. It's a matchup that has a lot of great regional interest, and then the history with Kim Mulkey and the University of Texas. Certainly understand that. But it's coming off a loss, and that's why I think some of the national media jumped on Vic. But if you follow Vic Schaefer, he's going to say what he thinks, and he's not going to apologize for it to a certain extent.
Right.
He didn't take a shot at anybody. He did say something about the SEC office.
Yeah.
He might get an email about that. Didn't name any names, but it was frustration, and I don't think that they sat in Birmingham and say, all right, how do we stick it to Texas?
Yeah, how do we get at these guys?
Again, it is a pretty amazing coincidence. You would play these two teams on the road in the span of 5 days. So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, nope. I agree with you. This team is too good to let something like this, kind of.
And they did a lot of bad things on Sunday, and still they were right in the thick of things. They were right there. And LSU comes here in a couple of weeks, and my guess is game will go a little different way.
Yeah. So the women's team, they take on South Carolina at Colonial Life Arena in Columbia at 6 p.m. on Thursday. The game's on ESPN2 if you want to watch some very high level women's college basketball. Tune into that one. That should be a good one. And now let's move over to the men's side real quick. Big win for the men's team. One they really needed. They beat Alabama 92-88. Alabama, I believe, was in the 14 range or so in the AP poll prior to this game. Jordan Pope goes for 28 points in 30 minutes, 6 of 13 for three-point range. Tremont Mark with 18, Dalen Swain with 18. So they're able to do enough to hold off Alabama at their place in Tuscaloosa. Like that's a pretty good win for Sean Miller's club.
It's a great win for a team that doesn't have many great wins.
You're right.
NC State and Maui, and then that's it. So they needed that one desperately, and now they need to see if they can get a little momentum. And if they can find a way to beat an undefeated Vanderbilt team on Wednesday at Moody, then they're 2-2 in conference. The resume starts getting better, and you get some of those wins, and then you don't have to fall back on, well, who did they beat in the non-conference? But you need a lot of them. I think 500. If you're Texas and what you did in the non-conference, if you don't get to 9 wins in conference, I just think it's going to be hard because the conference is not as good as last year. So you got a stretch right here where none of these I think would shock you if they won, because they're at home on Wednesday against Vanderbilt, playing with some confidence, and then they get some teams that they've all had their issues. A&M's not ranked; they probably will be if they have another week like they did last week, and that's coming up. They go to Kentucky. Kentucky's beatable. Now Rupp's going to be a tough place to play.
Yeah, always is. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But this next stretch of 5 is a stretch where you could realistically say, because of what you saw against Alabama,
if
they hadn't beaten Alabama, you think, okay, I just don't see it. Now you kind of see when they're good, they're pretty good. Where maybe they can stay around 500 in the SEC.
All righty. Well, we'll end this episode of the Horns Report right there. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. And for Roger Wallace, I'm Billy Gates, and we'll talk to you again very soon.